Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Welcome to my next listing. I'm trying to knock these out as fast as I can, man, with the holidays coming. Here's another sweet one for you, and this one isn't quite as expensive as the last few that I've been running through. But this is, like I say, my most popular favorite turntable lately. This is the JVC Victor QL-Y5 semi-automatic plus turntable, as I like to call it, because it's a semi-automatic that actually does more than a normal semi-automatic. It's been recapped and restored. It's in excellent shape. And because of the holidays, I'm including cartridges now with these turntables. Yeah, I have a bunch of nice used cartridges around here. So this has a great Audio-Technica moving coil cartridge on this thing. It is recapped and restored and ready to rock. Snoop Dogg's probably sleeping in the next room, but he'll probably show up. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the features and functions of this really cool machine. So I hope y'all are doing great. This holiday season's upon us, man. We haven't had any snow here yet, but it's been pretty darn cold a few days. But anyway, let me talk about this really cool machine. You guys know I've done quite a few of these, but this is the QL-Y5 semi-automatic direct drive turntable. And like I said, I call it a semi-automatic plus because if you guys know the differences, manual turntable is just manual. You put your arm on, you play the record. When it gets done, you got to pick it up and take it off. Because it's going to just grind your label to death, right? A semi-automatic turntable, usually you put your arm over the beginning wherever you want on the record, you lower it down yourself, go get a drink, have a Coke and a smile, shut the fuck up, your drink is done, your record's done. They tend to lift the arm up at the end, and most of them will shut themselves off. Some, like Yamaha's, will just lift the arm up and not shut themselves off. But anyway, it gets the cartridge, your stylus, out of the way of the record. This one here does what most semi-automatics do. At the end, it will lift up, but instead of shutting itself off, it returns all the way back to the armrest and shuts itself off. Now, that's what a fully automatic turntable does, right? Except a fully automatic, you can actually hit a button and start it, and it would start from your dead stop and go over. This doesn't do that. You have to start the record yourself, but then at the end, it will lift up, come all the way back, drop it over here, and shut the motor off. Really cool, really weird, because they actually made a fully automatic version of this called a 5F, but those are really rare and stupidly expensive because they didn't make that many of them, and it is technically a full automatic turntable. But the reason why I love this turntable so much is because it's a big honking motor monster. It is, semi-automatic with that addition. It has a removable head shell, and this one actually has the factory Victor shell on, which is really rare, and it's got VTA adjustment, which for any kind of semi-automatic turntable or almost fully automatic turntable is really rare. So we'll get to that stuff in a minute. But let's take a look at this plinth. You guys see this thing is in really nice shape, man. I love this big wide strips of flame on this veneers here. I've recapped it with Elnas and Nichicons and Panasonics. I lubed the motor, I lubed the arm, I lubed the VTA tube. I cleaned the pots there for the 80 skating and the Q damping. Yes, this is like kissing cousin to the Denons, as you guys know. I cleaned all front panel switches. I set the waveforms of the motor with a scope, and I set the variable resistors with a voltmeter. It is ready to rock. Now, like I said, I'm keeping my theme going here for the holidays. I'm including a cartridge with all these turntables because a lot of you guys are buying these things as gifts. There's nothing worse than opening up a gift at Christmas time and go, oh, you can't use it. It's not like this thing just needs batteries or something. It needs a cartridge. So although you can put any kind of cartridge on you want, and I can put something nicer on it for you if you'd like, but included at the price of this thing, which is only $620 for the whole turntable plus shipping with the cartridge and everything. This is an Audio-Technica ATF3 dual moving coil. It has actually two coils, one for each channel in here. Elliptical stylus, sounds fantastic. It seems to be in really good shape. If you notice, I've got the factory Victor head shell on, which is really kind of unique in its own way. Those things are good for dumb money. Let me go around here to the back. I'll get the back here for you. And we'll go over a little bit more of the features and functions of how it works, here in a bit, but just to give you an idea what the back looks like. But yeah, as a semi-automatic, it actually comes back over. It was so close to the F. I think, my semi-expert opinion of this is fully automatic turntables back in the day, they had a stigma. They were never known as audiophile turntables. And, you know, be honest with you, very, very few of them really do achieve any kind of really high-end performance. You know, the big Victors, the big Denons, you know, those kind of really are, you know, and you can say the Sonys, but those are seem to be pretty problematic. But, you know, those are the ones that really kind of only get close to achieving this stuff. So in order to prove that this thing is actually a nice audiophile turntable, they made it a semi-automatic. But they kept that circuit in there because it's the same circuit that's in the F. The return circuit's the same. The only difference is this doesn't have the start circuit. So that little technicality makes this semi-automatic. Have I confused you enough yet? Well, make a drink. Join me. You got some catching up to do. My band I want to talk about today is one of these really cool ones. Pretty obscure, but pretty neat. They had one semi-hit song that I never heard before because the song I heard played by them on my local radio station was the title track of this record that was kind of risque for 1975. So anyway, let's go ahead, make yourself a drink, sit down, and let's check out this turntable and the cool band Racing Cars. So my band tonight is the Welsh band Racing Cars. I get a lot of people who follow me outside of the States. So you guys are probably a little bit well known for you guys over in the UK and you know, Western Europe, because I guess they were pretty popular over there. But they did break out here a little bit here in the States, but not to any kind of extent. But it's just a really cool story, and you know, one of those kind of deals where it kind of shows the power of radio. Again, like I mentioned back in the day, how powerful radio is. So anyway, they formed in 1973. They were originally known as Good Habits, but when the lead singer, a guy named Garth Mortimer, everybody called him Morty, he went off into the merchant Navy, which is something I think you have to do over there. When he got back from a stint in the Navy, he had the idea of changing the name of the band to Racing Cars, and that's what they did. So the rest of the band was him, and it had Graham Williams on guitar, and then later a guy named Ray Ennis joined them on guitar. Had David Land on bass, and they had Robert Dowland on drums. So they got signed with Chrysalis Records in like 75. But by all accounts, it was after the most drunken, fucked up performance that they had ever done in their lives at the Club Dingwalls. Okay, Dingwalls is kind of a chain of clubs over there. It's also the name of a pretty good bass guitar. But anyway, I guess they must have got the guy from the record label even more drunk than they did, but they pulled it through and they got their record deal, okay? So they made their first record. They got signed to Chrysalis, as I mentioned. They made their first record here, Downtown Tonight, in 1976, okay? So the title track, that's the one that got played on my local radio station, WSRD. It used to be HOT FM, but when the FM side of it, they split to AM and FM, and it became SRD at the time there in Youngstown. And Downtown Tonight was the song they played. And I really didn't even really pay attention to what it was about, because what I loved about it was the vocalist, this Morty guy, has a fantastic voice. It's a lot like, one of my other favorite vocalists, Sal Valentino from the Bro Brummels. If you remember those guys from back in Laugh Laugh and back in the day. So the Bro Brummels were freaking awesome. Sal had that amazingly smooth voice, right? But the song's kind of a double entendre, because Downtown Tonight's about having sex with it, whatever. Okay. Anyway, and there's a lot of double entendre stuff in it. Okay. But they got signed to this deal. They released another song on this record. It's called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Okay. Now, if that title sounds familiar to you, it's probably not because of the song. It's because of the movie. So back in 1969, Sidney Pollack did this movie called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? I love this movie too. It had to cost nothing to film because it's all pretty much one scene. So long before Squid Game, okay, long before Hunger Games, there were dance marathons. And what this movie is about, from Sidney Pollack, it's about a group of people during the Depression here in the United States, was in the 30s. I mean, people were desperately poor. So although this started as a craze in the 20s, they would have these dance marathons where they get people together on a dance floor and they play piping music during the day, and then bands would play at night, 24 hours long. You had to stay up for like 45 minutes out of the hour. You could stop and rest for 15 minutes out of that hour. But the trick was you couldn't fall down, you couldn't pass out. It was basically an endurance contest, okay? Well, it started out in the Roaring 20s as kind of a goof. But then when people got desperately poor in the 30s, it turned into it was pretty brutal. I mean, people died. I mean, people would have heart attacks and stuff because they would play for maybe $500. Okay, now $500 in 1930s money is $30,000 now. You know what I mean? So it would just be really kind of a cruel freaking way to do it. And this movie, which I think has Jane Fonda and I think I forget who else in it. Trying to think. Anyway, the movie was really good, 1969 movie, but it got nominated for Oscars. I mean, a bunch of Oscars and stuff. So it was pretty cool. So anyway, they had that song called "They Shoot Horses." Now it sounds a lot like "Downtown Tonight," but if you hear later interviews with the band, they didn't like it. So it must have been one of the kind of deals where it was forced on them. Although it does sound a lot like. So, but anyway, they cut that record. It got released as a single over in Europe. It got to number 14 in 1977, and that's the only song they had that really did anything. They actually went out on tour with Manfred Mann and Bad Company, which was pretty cool. They were the kick-ass rock band. That's the other thing too. I mean, these songs are slow. There's nothing more sad than the sound of a rock band bitching about their ballad being what everybody remembers them by. Okay, ask REO Speedwagon. Okay, but anyway, the guy got pigeonholed with that ballad, right? Oh, it's a good song. But they were kicking ass live. They were, by all accounts, just a great live band. And they got off this tour. And you're thinking, hey, this is going to be great for us. Except, like I just mentioned, it was 1977 in Europe, and that was when punk rock hit. And records like this just stood out like, plaid underwear. I mean, it sounded like this record, the music was from the Depression compared to punk rock, right? So they just died on the vine, okay? They tried a couple more times to make records in 77 and 78. Chrysalis stuck with them. They did because they're, they had a good live following, but they just couldn't turn it to any record sales. And by 79, they were done. Well, they were sort of done because, as you know, no good band ever dies, right? So anyway, Morty in 81 put out a solo record. It was called Love Blind. Didn't really do too much. I think it might have sold pretty well there, but he joined an existing band called the Bleeding Hearts. But then he's like, hey, we should just change our name back to Racing Cars. I own that name. And we could be Racing Cars again, which is kind of a dick move. I mean, there's a whole rest of the band, the other guys in the band. But anyway, they did that. That really didn't pan out. And, a bunch of failed attempts, to try to make it work. That new version of the band never made another LP. But anyway, Morty, with his distinctive voice, actually went on to have a pretty decent career as a backup singer. He sang some backups for the Beach Boys and Tina Turner and Bryan Adams and stuff. So anyway, by 2000, he puts together another version of Racing Cars. And this time he's got the original guitar player, Garth Williams, with him, right? So at least it's like two original members of the band. And they get gigs playing all around Europe because, you can live fairly well off a top 10 hit in Europe, And, they play a lot of gigs, mostly on the weekends and stuff, And it got all the way around to like 2007. They cut a record in 2000, and it didn't do well. And in 2007, they decided they're going to hang it up. And they did like a final finale concert in Wales. And I found an article from that right there. It was actually beginning of 2008 when the concert happened. And I found an interview with the band where they talked about their success and stuff. And they're like, we don't even know if we're going to play They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Because they were, they're like Cheap Trick with the Flame. Remember Cheap Trick was the amazing Cheap Trick? Then they died off for a while, and they came back and had that hit that with the song The Flame that Diane Warren wrote from. So they hate that song, okay? They hate that song. But it put them back on the charts, right? So they hate to play it because it doesn't signify who they were, but you almost got to play it because a lot of people who didn't know Budokan knew that, right? So anyway, that's basically the deal there. They got back together to the 2008 thing, and they said it was going to be their last show. They actually reunited one other time for a tribute for a fallen musician in the UK, and then one other they did a set somewhere just for Goose, but that was really about it. And then in 2015, Morty passed away from cancer. So that's basically the story of Racing Cars. Really good band. I mean, they had 4 albums. I've got all of them. and they're actually really, really cool. Nice, good rock and roll, and they've got some really, nice ballads. His voice is just perfect for ballad music. So anyway, let me go ahead. I'm going to go to the next section. We'll show you the features of this machine, and I guess we'll play a little bit of, it's my channel. I'll play Downtown Tonight because that's a song I like, right? Okay, so we'll play a little bit of Downtown Tonight for you. Thanks for checking it out, and stick around. Ladies and gentlemen, during that break, we have a guest. It's the mighty Snoop Dogg. He is posing. He's excited to be here. He wants to hear about racing cars as well. Don't you? Yep, there it is. Yep. Tell him all about it, buddy. He actually does face me. I mean, I don't own a dog to only see his ass. He only shows his ass to you people, so go figure. I don't know. Everybody's a critic, right? So anyway, let me talk to you about this turntable and how it works. And I got to tell you one other thing. Okay, I forgot to mention. You're probably wondering about the marathon thing. Well, it was a last man standing kind of thing. I mean, the couples who, last couples that were left standing, and we're talking that these things lasted weeks, like 2-3 weeks. Some of these ones were for people to win this money. So it was like literally, it was fucked up. It was just really fucked up. And check that movie out because it's really well made. It's really done really well. So anyway, let me show you how this turntable works. The Y5 is a semi-automatic, I call it plus turntable, as I mentioned. You got a button right here. It's your power button. It turns it on. And when you do that, it defaults to 33. Oh, it defaults to 33. Speed control here goes between 33 and 45. Okay. This here has a separate start for the motor, which is going to be very helpful when I try to play the last song on the side, which is Downtown Tonight. It's, you could tell the band really didn't care about these songs because they put the single that was the hit and the title track as the last songs on the record, and you usually never do that. You usually lead with your hits back in the old days, right, if you're a new band. But anyway, you got a green light that'll come on when this thing is like solid. So in other words, when you hit the speed button here, as soon as it gets green, it's locked to speed. Of course, you shut it off right here, right? Okay. They come over here, you've got a reject button. Yes, and you guys know about fully automatic stuff. They used to call, when you wanted to stop a record, lift the arm and come back, they call it reject, and that's what they do here. Okay. And of course, these two buttons right here, if you know anything about the Denons, these are your locates, and these do work outside of the dust cover. So again, if you like that feature about the Denon, but you want a higher performing turntable than a 47 or whatever, then here you go. You just hold this button in, the arm lifts up, moves over to where you want it to be, and you let go, you start your motor, and then you'd use this right here. This is your cueing, and you'd lower the arm down, and it would play, just like that, right? Okay? So, and then back up. Of course, you get your reject, it comes back over, blah, 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 right? So, that's how it works. As I mentioned, this is an Audio-Technica ATF3 moving coil cartridge. It sounds fantastic. It's really good sounding cartridge. Great match for this arm. I'm trying to make these things so when, if somebody unwraps it under a tree, you've got a working turntable. And as anybody knows who can attest to this on my, I ship these turntables about as plug and play as I possibly can. So there's very little you guys got to do. Most of the time, it's just balancing the tone, setting the tracking force and stuff. Everything else is, I leave connected and ready to go, right? So back here, these two controls, if you are fans of Denons, speaking of 47Fs, these are the same Q damping and anti-skate tracking force knobs that come on a 47F. This here's your arm lock. You put this over, it locks the arm in place. This has JVC's version of the Denon servo tracer tracker arm. They call it the dynamic thing, right? So same kind of thing back here. It has a ballast counterweight that you will balance it out with. Luckily, this has no zero balance. Thank you, Jesus. This wheel right here is really important. You can loosen this up, and you can lift the arm up. It's got VTA, which makes your cartridges, you dial your cartridges in there. Because as I said, they made them all standard width, but they did not make them all standard thickness, which was kind of stupid. And you have to make sure each one is kind of set the right way. And that hole right here picks the end lift position. I've got that set for you perfectly. You won't have to worry about that. So anyway, when you want to play a record on this thing, you'd have it turned on. You'd move this over. You'd start it. And then, let me get this back over here. I'm just going to show you because I'm going to show you that other song. But you would just drop it right here. And it would start to play your record, right? Okay, of course, okay. But I'm going to go ahead and play that track I told you at the end. I'm going to play Downtown Tonight because, like I said, it's my channel. I can do what I want, right? So let's go ahead and check out Downtown Tonight real quick. So the beauty of having a separate start-stop is you can queue up songs just like this when you're holding a camera. So anyway, yeah, I want to play Downtown Tonight. This is the title track from it. I don't know if it was, not played on other radio stations because of the lyric content. It's no worse than a Conway Twitty song from back in those days. If you guys know what I'm talking about, Conway Twitty said just was the dirtiest, disgusting, not disgusting, but just risque country songs, man. And my wife always jokes about how her mom and they were just singing along the top of their lungs about cheating on these people. It's just, kind of a weird existence. But anyway, let me go ahead and play this track from Racing Cars. This is the title track. It's called Downtown Tonight. Check out his voice. I think you'll like it.
She thought I was green. She said, now let me know if you wanna go downtown tonight.
And that's Racing Cars. Like I said, they wanted to be known more as a rock and roll band. But that's just a great killer track. And, really good band. You get these records probably dirt cheap everywhere. And they're really well recorded. And they sound great. So let me just wrap this thing up here with the Snoop Dogg still with me. And, man, hope you guys can grab one of these as a great holiday gift. Let's check it out. So with the Pookie dog sleeping and the dust covered down, let's go to the map, guys and girls. This is, like I say, my favorite, current turntable, just because it's the best bang for the buck. The 57 L Denon in a pure semi-automatic is my favorite there. But just an overall great turntable, man, you cannot beat these Y5s. Like I say, big direct drive motor, removable head shell. It's a universal head shell, so same thing. It works on your Pioneers and your Kenwoods and your JVCs and your Sansuis and your Sonys and your whatever. It's a BNC style head shell. It's been recapped and restored. As I mentioned, Elnas and Panasonics and Nichicons, and the motor's been lubed, the arm's been lubed, VTA tube, all the controls have been cleaned. Everything I do to them, it's ready to go. And it's got that really cool killer Audio-Technica F3 moving coil, or they call it double moving coil, cartridge on it. So it is ready to rock. And like I mentioned earlier, this thing is $620 plus the shipping, and that includes the cartridge. If you don't want the cartridge, guess what? The price is $620. So why not? But if you want to get something nicer, like, for somebody, I've put bunches of different things on this thing. And with that servo arm, compliance issues aren't really any kind of a big deal. Most anything that would be in the price range that you'd want to put a cartridge on this thing, which, for most people would be in the $200 to $400 range, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, the vast majority are going to work perfectly with this arm. Your Sumicos and your Twin Blues and your, like VM 540s and 740s or Nagaokas. I mean, they're all going to be a great match there. You guys notice I don't ever say something sounds better than something else, because that's the first sign you can tell that somebody's a idiot who says, oh, this one sounds better than that one. Now, you don't know shit, okay? Because I don't know shit, because I don't know what your stereo sounds like. I can tell you something tracks better, or something might have a little bit cleaner bass, or, do this or that. But, like, as far as sounding better, I'm not in your house, I'm not your stereo. So, better is kind of a term only if it's like there's a situation where there's a mismatch in the gear. So sound quality wise, I very rarely ever go, man, this, like if there's a record that's recorded bad, we can all agree that, geez, man, it's not that good. But, if you got clip horns and you want to put an AT cartridge in your glass Scandinavian metal room, it's probably gonna be a little bit bright, Bob. So It's all about, matching your gear and making it work. So anyway, with all that being said, man, I can't thank you guys enough. Next turntable up, well, it all depends because people have been hitting me up for turntables, and I don't even get a chance to get them made on video. But the next thing that's probably going to come up, it could be a 59L, although I got somebody already might be interested in it. I got a 9010 Kenwood, although somebody might be interested in it. I've got a Pioneer PL30L Series 2, little baby brother to the 50L coming up. Man, I'm going to try to get as many done probably by, like the 10th of December. And then after that, I'm just going to go dark because I'm going to just enjoy the holidays this year with my dog and everything. So I hope you guys can jump in here and get some great, great deals and presents and stuff, especially now, man. Your music is more important, I think, than ever for people right now because it's just something, music and having a good dog is just something that you can just enjoy. And, you got to lock yourself in your house and put some headphones on. Why not listen to a good record while you're doing it, right? So anyway, I hope you guys are all well. You're all safe. Hit me up at the Emerald Plano deal. I only take Zelle. I only take PayPal, friends and family. And I can take a personal check, but it's got to wait to clear before I can ship it. So with that being said, man, you guys know the drill. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record. But anyway, thank you guys so much again. Appreciate you all. Man, have a great holiday season, and we'll catch up with you as soon as I can on the next one. Thanks, everybody.